Hello everyone, welcome to the presentation of the work done by the group Geo2 for EVS 2013-2014. Geoconservation in HaTeg country, the Dinosaurs Geopark. And for this work, the main topic of the case study for us was the sustainability of geoconservation in HaTeg country, Dinosaurs Geopark. So after some group discussions and the first meetings on Skype, we came to a sense between all of us that our central research question would be this one. How can we enforce the local and cultural identity from the inhabitants of Geopark? And since we were a very diversity group with all kinds of people of ages, of countries, we are 5 students, 2 from Belgium, 1 from Portugal, and 2 from Romania. And our research approach basically was getting use of our diversity inside the group and the diversity of ideas, and also defining that we were going to use a lot of research through the internet to reach to bibliography, and also having the advantage on this research approach that we had Professor Alessandro in our group as our expert, and Christian in our group as our tutor.
Hello everybody, I am Jonas van Moer from the group Geo2 and I will tell you something more about the economy of Romania, what was also my part of the presentation. The first thing I will discuss with you is the economy of Romania. So the workforces in Romania, we can see it is better than the other European countries. So there are more and more people can working in the city, so in the country, so there is a low unemployment. The second thing is the poverty line. The poverty line is a line with some money. When people are under this line, they have no enough money to buy some things like food, like clothes. But we can see in the country there is a positive evolution, but there are still 4 million people who live under this poverty line. The third part is the purchasing power. The purchasing power is the money that people can get from working, from other things, and that is enough to buy food, to buy clothes, to do something. So we can see there is a positive evolution with the purchasing power, but we can also see in other countries this evolution is better. So Romania has a little bit work. The last part is exports. Romania has 2 important products to solids to other countries, electricity and petroleum. We can also see there is a positive effect about these products, so there is every year more and more electricity and petroleum to sold to other countries, so Romania gets more and more money from these countries. The second part is the economy of HaTeg. HaTeg knows a textile industry, a forestry and a food industry, and these are the 3 most important industries of the city. Then the purchasing power in the city is higher than the average, so more people than the average can buy food, can buy clothes without problems, and the city knows good welfare, so it's also positive for the Geopark. The unemployment in the city is higher in comparison with other provinces. The employment in Hunedoara, what means most of the people than the average has a job, but there are still 1,250 people who has no job in Hunidwara. Then the last part that I will discuss with you is the transport of Romania. There are 35 airports in the country, all with good infrastructure, what is good to attract tourists. The highways in the country has also a good infrastructure. They knows a good connection between cities. Several special between the big cities, and it's an half hour ago away from HaTeg. So what means it's good, and it is also good, positive for the Geopark. The last part are the railways. Between the big cities there is a good connection with the railways and a good infrastructure, but between less important cities, the little cities, has a bad connection and no really good infrastructure. So my conclusion of the economy part in Romania is it knows a positive evolution, what is really good. HaTeg is located in the rich region, so also the Geopark is located in a rich region. The country and also the city knows a good mobility, what is also a good effect, a positive effect for the Geopark. But the country knows a big difference between the rich and the poor region. I thank you for your attention and goodbye.
I'm Christina and I'm going to speak about the cultural identity of HaTeg country's people, which consists in their cultural heritage. Here we can divide between intangible heritage and tangible heritage. For the tangible heritage, we studied traditional food, main themes and popular stories, legends, traditional music and dances, arts and crafts. Some examples of traditional food are virșli, which are mutton sausages, pup de crum, which is potato pie with cold buttermilk and pumpkin jam. The main theme in HaTeg's folklore stories is the forest, codrul, mythic representations of the wood, the mother, daughter, man of the woods, woodswoman, sacred trees, oak and fir, wild animals of the forest, wolf and bear, are very much alive in the popular traditional beliefs and customs. Everyone in HaTeg country knows about the Dacian cursed gold, or Decebals, the ruler of Dacian people, gold. Another interesting legend and appealing to the present is the one of the Uriași, which are giants, like Woodbender and Stone Smash. Many think that the legends of the stories have a core of truth. 100 years ago, a Hungarian baron with Romanian origins, Franz Nopcsa, had the curiosity to study the giant's bones found by some peasants in HaTeg. He studied natural science in Vienna and immediately realized those bones belonged to dinosaurs. So he discovered that the Uriași were actually dinosaurs. For traditional music and dances, we have Hațegana and Călușerul. And for arts and crafts, there are still distaffs from Clopotiva, textiles, carpets from Băiești Pui, and decorative towels, pillowcases, and bags. The old handicraft cooperative, Hațegana, from the city of HaTeg, is one of the few in Romania where traditional folkloric objects are still being made. Folk traditional costumes, which are blouses, cergi, carpets, traiste, bags, and opinci, peasant shoes, can be bought. A study made in 2001 suggested people were interested in reviving crafts like carpentry, furrier, tunita de loom, smithy, tailoring, malus trade, and wool processing. For the intangible heritage, we spoke about traditional folkloric costumes and traditional architecture. Nowadays, people dress in these special clothes only for the big celebration, like Nădei, fests that take place in every commune in HaTeg country. The men used to wear long pants, white belt, and the laibăr, which is a sleeveless jacket, and the woman, opreg, a kind of peasant woman skirt, and catrință, which is Romanian woman peasant's homespun skirt, and also pieptar, which is a sleeveless fur coat. For traditional architecture, we studied churches, fortresses, and castles in a HaTeg country. Very interesting are the stone churches, like St. Nicholas Church from Dinosaurs. It is said that Dinosaurs Church is the oldest cult place in the country and in the southwest of Europe, since it dates from 1360. nobody knows exactly the date of the church's development. Some say it can be from the 4th or 5th century. Many historians sustain that before the church was built in the 2nd century, on the same place there was a temple dedicated to Mars god. After the Romans left the area, the pagan temple became Christian, and since that moment ceremonies were held there. Another story says that before the arrival of the Romans there existed the temple of Zalmoxi god, the Dacian god. From the architectural point of view, the construction can't be framed in an epoch because of the many monuments inside and outside it. The specialists can understand an old Romanic style. In the back of the church there are blocks shaped in calcareous, specific to the Dacian constructions. Meanwhile, the upper part was made of cobble with cement. The church is built on 8 Roman tombstones. The nave is square and has a tower around, which is a narrow space with a support vault. The narthex is guarded by 4 thick pillars covered in tombstones. Above the altar sit and guard 2 lions back to back. Proving the existence of the temple since Roman times, a fresco on a wall describes a horse without a horseman, which is the symbol of death at Romans. The value of the paintings is invaluable and have reunited icons painted in Byzantine and Romanic style. Another interesting detail is given by the mural painting done by Master Stephen in the 15th century that pictures God, the Father, as a Romanian peasant with braided pigtails and baby Jesus dressed in folklorical traditional clothes from HaTeg country and the Holy Ghost above them as a pigeon. This unique painting, which is dated 13,000, is known as the Holy Trinity from Dinosaurs. Other examples of churches and monasteries are Prislop Monastery, Ostrov Church, St. Ilie from Peșteana, Santa Maria Orlea, and Stray Church. Fortresses, we chose to describe Holt's Fortress, which is dated in the 16th century and was built for defense by Candafi family. Because of the looks and of the toponymy of the place, it is believed that the fortress inspired Jules Verne in his Romain, the Carpathian Castle. Candafi Castle in Santa Maria Orlea, we chose it for exemplifying the idea of castles in HaTeg country, is an architectural monument built in 1702 in a Baroque style. It belongs to the Candafi family. The neo-Gothic aspect is described by the following elements: the tower, the crenelle on the balustrade, Gothic windows, meaning pointed arch, little balcony, and because of its asymmetrical composition. The fashion of the 19th century stated that around the castle there must be an English park, and so the castle's park is an English park as a structure. The Candafi castle, with its varied aspect and decorations, evoke the French medieval castles and is an interesting Transylvanian example of the phenomena, the importance of the representation of aristocratic aspirations and development of a noble resistance. The impact of modern welfare can shape HaTeg people's attitudes and way of perceiving life. From old handicrafts in modern times, the industrial epoch shaped HaTeg country's face by ferrous metallurgy dominating Hunedoara and Călani, the mining industry in Jiu Valley, and the hydroelectrical power plant on Râu Mare. In communism, the man became the worker. He left behind what he knew from his ancestors, the tradition of herdsmen, wood carving, clay modeling, food and traditional clothes and carpet making, of blacksmith, and became worker for the state. After 1989, when the regime changed from communism to democracy, HaTeg country was affected by the collapse of the mining and ferrous metallurgy industry. People were left without a job, without the possibility of continuing their usual lives. Today, a new type of development is seen: the service in tourism, renewable energy industry in the Geopark, and choosing your own business. So we see in HaTeg country's people lives a loop, from the handicraft man before the Industrial Revolution, that worked for his community and for himself, to the worker in the factory, mine, for the state, and coming back to the man that has to work for his community and himself. These changes take time. It is very difficult to turn around habits, attitudes, and lives. The Geopark status implies new laws for the territory, but also for the community living there. The development attracts also stress because development is change. When speaking about the impact of modern welfare, the quality of life for the people in HaTeg should be taken into account. Some of the indicators regarding the quality of life are health, education, human rights, income, resources, and availability of goods and services in HaTeg country's community. So we stated every commune in the Geopark by these indicators. The results were that any employed person that pays taxes has a medical insurance, which says the Romanian laws. In all the Geopark's communes, there are still some problems with the number of clinics and permanent doctors, running water, infrastructure, waste management, little income, and availability of touristic services. But education and human rights are well guarded. Every commune has schools and gives the needed importance to educational programs. Also, there is social assistance for children, old, and poor. The resources that can be exploited are the clean air, non-polluted, breeding and raising animals, arts and crafts, learned from the old people in the villages that can be a great source for agro and ecotourism. Being attested since the Roman Empire, the locals should use this legacy in their favor, promoting it and the history of thousands of years of this territory, because HaTeg country bears testimony to a rich historical background. Caves with signs of human habitation since Paleolithical times, ruins dating from the Dacian Roman period, like Ulpia Traiana Sarmizegetuza, small fortresses and medieval towers, the Colts and Rakitova fortresses. Old churches dating from ancient times, like Densuș and Santa Maria Orlea, manor houses and small castles, residences of local noble families, the noble court of Sălașul de Sus and Candafi Castle. Also, in General Berthelot, where is the Center for Adult Education, a scientific nest that can be taken into consideration as a proper source for scientific tourism, together with some local touristic associations that can assure the accommodation and some thematic trips, hiking and rock climbing, bird and butterfly watching for the scientific tourists.
Environmental problems are connected with human society, economy, and behavioral patterns. This means it is important that sustainable development strategy must be accompanied with the desired behavior. It is also important that there is a good communication between the social scientists and the environmentalists and conservators in the park. If the park's conservators wish to promote ecological and geotourism, locals should go along with this idea. It is vital to make a choice between a variety of methods for behavioral studies. In the context of behavioral studies, a first issue is to know how people deal with environmental stress. Tourism and other economic activities can create stress to the citizens. This environmental stress can cause unwelcome reactions like hostility towards tourists, locals leaving the park, etc. The next issue to address is which environmental behaviors are likely to be adopted by the inhabitants of the park. Sustainable behavioral patterns can be divided into the 5 R's: reduce, repair, reuse, recycle, and redesign. Do not forget, behavior is also influenced and affected by external factors, leading to intention-oriented behavior with focus on attitude, impact-oriented behavior, where the focus is mainly on income, and finally curtailment behavior, being a more than one-time event, for instance, the use of public transport. It is essential to measure the behavior of the park's inhabitants. This can enlighten the intentions behind certain behaviors. One should bear in mind that in the common dilemma there is a conflict between the individual interest versus collective interest. Another problem is that people think in the here and now, thus empowering the individual interests. The common dilemma has four characteristics. First, every person receives a higher payoff for a socially wrong choice. Second, defective choices detract from other benefits. Third, all individuals are better off if they cooperate. Fourth, the outcome of individual choices are governed by choices from others. You shouldn't forget that people are unaware of the collective problem and that they don't want to take individual responsibility. They don't feel nor really understand the long-term problem. They believe they can't do a thing about it. What are the physiological explanations for behavior? One way to explain behavior is using the NOAA model, which stands for Needs, Opportunities and Abilities. These three factors are essential for the park citizens to take action. Hereby, the social situation of the people involved is important, bringing us to the quality of life, which refers to the human needs. The quality of life can be measured by asking the people to make an assessment of their own quality of life. If the basic needs of people are met, they will be more inclined to work for sustainable development strategy. The human behavior is largely determined by cognitivism, which is related to learning processes, behaviorism, which is related to external factors, imitation, and finally, people act before they think. The burning question is now, what management strategies are possible to achieve SDS? The honest answer is that there is no panacea. However, a battery of small measures can have a great effect. Behavior can be changed by the assumption that behavior is largely determined by external factors. So change the external factors and the behavior will change as a result. Formation of cooperatives. Small is beautiful. Open communication between the parties involved. Enforcement and regulations and laws, but self-regulation is a better option when agreements are concluded between several parties. Push and pull strategies. Push is discouraging behavior. Pull is rewarding behavior, offering knowledge. 5 essential steps for good management strategy are: define the target group and target behavior. Second, observe and describe current behavior. Third, policy decision making. Fourth, intervention. 5, rechecking and evaluation. The pitfall of management is usually that sustainability problems continue to persist because management is generally focused on the achievement of one or few goals. There is no interdisciplinary scientific team, too little cooperation between different important actors, and not enough external help. Environmental problems emanate from social behavioral problems. Many problems are man-made. I'd like to thank our universities and professors for their support in order to achieve this work. Philip van Mullen.
The geological importance of the HaTeg Geopark. The fossils found in the HaTeg area span over 300 million years of Earth's geologic history, showing tropical coral reefs and volcanic islands in the Tethys Sea, an ocean that existed between the continents of Gondwana and Laurasia during much of the Mesozoic era. HaTeg area was an island during the Cretaceous period. Even if, in this period, the life conditions were very narrow, Numerous species of herbivore-carnivore dinosaurs have been developed: crocodiles, turtles, gastropods, ostracods, vertebrates, and different plant species. Many ideas and words are spread around about the geodiversity of the HaTeg area, which is bound by the diversity of the geological and geomorphological phenomena in a certain area, but also by the biodiversity that stirs and the natural development characterized by a massive variety of vegetation, to whom altitudinal distribution is conditioned by the relief and the particular topoclimatic conditions. The importance of this, it is how it's viewed from a perspective and how profound we want to go in identify the connection between terrestrial system and their effects.
Passing now to tourism, uh, our main idea in the research proposal was to find the types of tourism that are more adequate to HaTeg area. And we start by checking the offer that HaTeg has uh, in terms of tourism beds, and yeah, the offer is quite low, um, but has lots of potential for increasing, and this way increasing in a sustainable way of uh, using sustainable tourism as one of the main tools to to activate the economy in HaTeg area. So in this paper, you can find what is our proposal about agrotourism, ecotourism, geotourism, and rural tourism. Um, our proposal, it's in our research proposal. The proposal was mainly about giving a few tips not to create and to be very careful and not to create mass tourism, since it's not what we are trying to get to HATSEC. Because if we want to have a sustainable development project for HATSEC area, mass tourism can't be uh, used in HATSEC. People must be very careful. What in respect of international tourism, it's possible to get international tourism to HATSEC in connections to international airports that are around 100 and something kilometers, and it's possible, but from our analysis, I think that we think that domestic tourism has the most importance in an economy and a social and an environmental way to HATSEC. Domestic tourism, uh, it will be the uh, where HATSEC must find their own uh, tourists, inviting them to go and meet one part of their own country and showing them the importance that the fortified churches have, the dinosaurs' eggs has, the pets around HaTeg has, the traditional festivals and foods, and domestic tourism. It's mainly what HaTeg should concentrate their efforts. And one other thing that we come to some knowledge that was that HaTeg it's not appearing in any touristic maps uh, now, and it's difficult for anyone that is not looking for HaTeg to find HaTeg. That must be changed uh, in a way of HaTeg beginning to be a sustainable tourism place that you can find quite easily if you are looking for doing tourism in those areas. The main results for the research proposal in HaTeg region, mm, well, and what we discussed it and what we saw that will change is things like getting employment to the region, getting social and cultural heritage to be sustainable way of living for local communities, changing the behaviors of some political decisions because it must be changed locally and unlocally decisions, uh, and having this healthy economic reason that we are talking about, that will let youth to stay in HaTeg. That's one of the biggest problems, that there is no youth to begin new projects. And having sustainable development in HaTeg region will will give chances to that youth to start and to begin something and to get their own cultural heritage and be proud of it and do something with it. Uh, because one thing that we can see is that people are very proud of their cultural heritage in HaTeg area. Um, what's also we get to see was that people know HaTeg, but people don't have any notion of what HaTeg has to offer, and that you can see in our paper through some inquiries that we did to Romanian population, uh, and most of them knew about HaTeg. They heard about HaTeg. They knew there was a Geopark in HaTeg, but they don't really know what the Geopark has to offer to them in HaTeg. So here we have our team, our group members. Uh, I will start with the ladies from Romania. We have Bianca and Christina. Bianca was working on cultural and geological heritage, as was Christina also, that did a great job with cultural and social heritage also. We had also Philip and Jonas from Belgium. Uh, Philip working on the behavior of people from HaTeg, and Philip and Jonas, sorry, Jonas working on the economic part of this paper. And we have also me, Claudio, from Madeira Island, Portugal, that was working on the part of sustainable tourism and environmental science applied also to the project. So as we could see, our group was mainly from three countries, from Romania, from Belgium, and from Portugal. And yeah, we took advantage of all the parts where people are more experts, uh, where students are more experts in those fields for to divide work and to get our discussions going and getting new ideas. Uh, it was good because everyone spoke English, uh, some better than others, but that's it. It's normal. It was good because there were also a difference in ages, so we had older people, younger people, and that also gives some dynamic, especially on the Skype meetings, and yeah, that's quite good. But mainly we made use of being a small group to try, and we hope we did, to do some difference by the application of some of our ideas in the work in HaTeg. So this is the end. Thank you to everyone, especially a big thanks to our tutor, Christian Sibiano, and to Professor Alessandro Understano, that were our experts. Thank you, a big thank you to Job always fulfilling the empty timings and trying to get everyone to work. That's really needed sometimes. And yeah, I think this last sentence just says uh, everything about our work. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure working with uh, all of you. Thank you.